here we are, another edition of the Closed Fist. Yeah, 3 of us went to Global Wars. 1 didn't.
Who's that, Grappler X?
Probably not.
Grappler X was there. Grappler X was present. I saw him myself.
Grappler X was. I think we saw Grappler X.
I give him a high five.
Anyway, I'm Russ, posing as Bushi.
Oh, you're so bougie.
Whatever. I'm so Bushi.
You are. Seriously.
This guy, who says he's Grappler X, is really Dan Murphy from Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
I didn't bring the mask. They brought the mask. So I'm wearing
it's my fault.
Yeah, he's lying. It came out of his shorts. It's weird.
And then the 2 creepy gentlemen on the other side, of course, is Will and then Joey Fingers.
It's my new move.
So,
I like it.
Yeah, I gotta take this off. I don't know how do you wear this for so long?
How did you take it off already? That's a load of crap.
I know how they wear it so long. They're in shape.
It is tough. I did wrestle some matches under a mask, and I had kind of shields over the eyes, right? So I could see shapes, but not really see. And man, you get so you get so blown up with a mask on, man. But at the very least, like there's something between you and the audience. Like you don't feel as foolish out there in your underwear rolling around. You know, you feel a little bit more dignity under a mask.
A little bit more dignity.
Which is why I want to wear one in my normal life.
Well, actually, Dan is incognito for a reason.
Wow.
Got some heat with.
Got some heat.
Nice segue.
Yeah, the PWI Women's 100, Ronda Rousey on the cover.
Hey, that's not the man.
Becky Lynch is not happy about that. And neither are her friends.
Well, we have extra security on hand to make sure that, and an escort to Dan's car after the show, just to make sure.
Just so you know, I let them into Raw and I let them in this building.
What are you doing? My God.
It's freaking Becky Lynch. She's the man.
I'm keeping the mask on. Nobody will know who I'm.
There you go.
There we go.
This is great. This is awesome.
So, there you are.
There we go.
Yay.
The big reveal. It was me all along. It was me, Austin.
It's like the machines.
But
Murph machine.
There you
the
go.
Murph machine. Oh,
Murph Machine X.
Okay. You did the PWI Top 500. Really not much heat with that one, I don't think. Some debate.
Yeah.
But not really like Twitter war heat.
No, Kenny Omega was number 1. In fact, that's right here.
Just for a question, where was Miz?
Wait, he was in the top 10.
Because the guy at the end over there doesn't like Miz very much.
He was number 10.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm gonna puke on your shoe after the show.
Stop it, Draws.
But again, not so much like maybe debate, but not really heat.
Yeah, people seem to like Kenny Omega at number 1. The top 10 was Miz notwithstanding. People tended to kind of agree with the top 10. So there was discussion, and but yeah, not a lot of heat. Women's 100 has had a little bit more.
Well,
Would you say it was catty?
No, I would not use a sexist term like that.
Way to go, Joey.
way to go, Joey.
I'm woke.
Hey,
woke.
nobody said the fingers weren't
Hashtag
sexist.
Me too.
I think Joey might want to wear the Lucha mask walking out of here. I don't know.
Not scared. I got Becky's back.
The top 10, it was Ronda number 1, Alexa Bliss number 2, Charlotte Flair number 3, Io Shirai number 4, Asuka was number 5. Shayna Baszler made the top 10 at number 6. That one's pretty interesting.
That's awesome.
I've known Shayna for a long time. I go to the Shimmer shows in Chicago. I go to almost all of them. I missed one last year, but I was there for Shayna's, I think, second ever pro match. It was her second and third on a Saturday and fourth and fifth, I think, on Sunday. So I saw 4 of her first 5 matches. And I went to a UFC show. It was a Conor McGregor fight in suburban Chicago with Shayna. Okay. It was myself, Pat LaPrade, who I did Sisterhood of the Squared Circle with, Kimberly, Abby Lath when she was in WWE for the Mae Young Classic, and Shayna. And we went and watched the UFC fight, and she's got a great head for the business. She's picked up on pro wrestling really well, and she's had great success in NXT. 2-time champion now.
Okay, I have a question about that, since we brought her up and just kind of Would you say that with her background in MMA, that she's almost like Ronda Rousey done right? To me, in a way, because Ronda's the package, the name. They pushed her out there. They said, "Here you go," and she's doing very well.
Minus for bringing arms out of sockets.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. But that's kind of what I mean. Is like I think Shayna has the training. She's put the time in, the work in, kind of thing. You know what I mean? She looks to me like she's what Ronda Rousey could be. You know?
Yeah, I agree
but without
with
the
that.
name.
Right, I agree with that. At first, I thought, and Joey, you were saying it before, you used to box, you said,
Yep.
right? I did some kickboxing, I did some grappling and sparring and things like that, and I thought it would be really tough for somebody to make the transition from MMA to wrestling because pro wrestling, it's all done for show. You know, a strike, you have to come way back, and you have to, whereas when you're really training, it's not those big movements.
Yeah.
It's more effective. In wrestling, in grappling, you go to your back to fight and have the guard and defend yourself. You don't have to worry about, you block a choke. In pro wrestling and everything else, it's all about kind of going to your belly, and it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that it would take a long time for somebody coming from that world to make the transition. And then I saw Shayna at Shimmer, and she was a natural. And she said, I know the fundamentals, I know pro wrestling, I just have to combine the two, and I know what I'm doing. And I spoke to her back then about Ronda. And said, do you think she could do this too? And she's like, oh yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is, she's been a wrestling fan for years. She's always wanted to do this. It's always been in the back of her head. So she's been mentally kind of thinking about it and preparing about it all along. So yeah, I was really impressed with Shayna's mentality and how quickly she made the transition. And I think that she is right now a better pure wrestler than Ronda Rousey is. Right. I think that Shayna is probably one of the top 5 best pure wrestlers in the world.
Yeah, and given the fact that hasn't been wrestling all that long.
No, 3 years, maybe?
3 years, 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, I mean, and I always thought that just her style, her grappling style, she just kind of dove in, and yeah, I mean, she is truly fantastic. But top 10 already.
Yeah, well, you look at the success in NXT, and NXT is, I mean, you can talk about, WWE is obviously the #1 wrestling promotion in the world. You might say that New Japan is number 2, but New Japan doesn't have a women's division. So when it comes to the women, what is the number 2 company? Would it be Impact? Ring of Honor has Women of Honor, but they're not really doing a lot with it. It's NXT, really, and she's had the success in NXT. She didn't win the title until after the magazine came out to become a 2-time champion, but she had one good run. She had a lot of good matches in NXT, and frankly, I thought that she had the in-ring abilities and title success warranted to take a spot in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean,
Those matches with Ember Moon last year, awesome.
Yeah.
Really
Ember
good.
Moon.
Well, I'm saying her and those matches they had last year around Royal Rumble time, those were great.
Yeah, and getting to the top 10, Carmella, number 7.
Yeah, I know. The weakest worker. Well, and then number 8.
Number 8, Nia Jax.
Yeah.
All right.
But Nia Jax won a title at WrestleMania. Yeah.
Valid
I mean,
point.
how many men or women can say that they won a title at WrestleMania? I mean, that's a big accomplishment.
That's a big deal.
And she broke
Carmella-
barriers for a woman of her stature.
absolutely, yes. Being
Try not to be sexist this time around.
don't be catty. No, being the plus size and not being a monster heel, and that's what wrestling's always been.
And now she's a monster heel.
Now she kind of turned into a monster heel after a bad punch. But
Oh my God! Well, what
The
can
most
you do?
important question of this day
And-
is how is my girlfriend Liv Morgan not #1 on cover right now? I had to do it. I'm sorry.
And then, of course, at number 9,
He had no response.
I have to stick up for my girl Liv. I'm
He
sorry.
had no response.
oh Lord,
Cotton candy hair and blue tongue. I got it all day.
This is my girlfriend right here, number 9,
number 9,
I thought you meant
Mayu
Russ.
Uratani.
Mayu Awatani from
Iwatani.
Stardom. Yeah.
And of course, number 10, a person that I think has had some great matches with Shayna Baszler, Kairi Sane.
Yes.
And she's really interesting because she is not big.
Oh, no.
She's slight.
Yeah.
But when the switch goes on with this
great.
with this girl, she's like 6 feet tall and like 200 pounds and ready to knock somebody out.
That's the Stardom model. Stardom in Japan It's kind of a weird little promotion because it's really about petite, sexy girls with characters who can just work and just. That's where Io comes out of. That's where Mayu Iwatani. That's where Kairi Sane. Those I saw the three of them. They were on a tour 3 years ago. I saw them in Las Vegas. They came in. They did Lucha Underground. They did this show at the Cauliflower Alley Club, and it just amazing. And I ended up. Cheerleader Melissa works with the Stardom office as kind of liaison with the U.S. She gave me a bunch of DVDs. I got to really catch up on Stardom and see what they were doing there. Hung out with those girls quite a bit in Las Vegas. Went to the Godfather's strip club together.
You have a terrible life, my friend.
I know, right?
Do you need a travel partner?
That was a good time.
I think you need a hug after this.
I think you need a travel partner. I make a great assistant. I take a lot of dictation.
But I mean, they're awesome people and amazing wrestlers. And it's so. The thing is, I saw them 3 years ago, thinking they're so good. I just wish they had a national platform. And you never thought WWE would hire. They couldn't speak English. They were too small. They're kind of quirky Japanese characters. And now they're some of the biggest names. Mayu hasn't made it, but the rest have all gone on to success in WWE.
Yep. Now, that being the top 10, who didn't make the top 10? Okay, here we go. Ding, ding, ding.
That was mean. I'm telling
Okay,
Liv.
is she around? She here? Okay, you're safe for right now. Becky Lynch, number 11.
11, yeah. But
That was out before everything that just happened.
This looks over the previous 12 months. So we look at, I think the period is
September 30th.
September 30th to October 1st.
Or something like that.
Or September 30th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a previous 12-month span. And during that time frame, Becky wasn't doing a lot, especially during the first half. Now, you can counter that and say, well, Ronda literally wasn't doing anything because she didn't wrestle her first match. But Ronda won the Raw title. She was undefeated. She had one of the show-stealing matches at WrestleMania. Becky Lynch won the title with about 3 or 4 weeks left in the evaluation period and didn't really catch fire until afterwards.
And I think this kind of speaks to the wrestling fan themselves. They see what's in front of them now.
Oh, yeah.
And not the last 12 months.
That's the thing with wrestling fans. I mean, we talk about nostalgia. That's one thing, but for the most part, we're looking at what's right in front of us. You're not looking back at. I'm not even thinking about WrestleMania anymore. It's at that point you just see what's going on.
And that was 6 or 7 months ago. That's not even that far back. WrestleMania.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and there was a point in time when I think we discussed, okay, Becky Lynch, at some point they're going to give her own shovel, so she can bury herself, because I think she just wasn't. She was putting talent over for a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the heel thing, and I put my hands up in quotations. They turned her heel.
Stone Cold heel,
Yeah,
and
Stone
now
Cold
she's
here.
turned into the next Stone Cold Steve Austin,
which is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
That's probably the best moment on Raw I've seen in a year.
Starting an Evolution, that match with her and Charlotte was amazing, with the chairs and everything, and then to turn around and, I mean, it wasn't really a lucky punch, but I mean that just put her so far over.
Oh, the
and
run Raw?
Yeah, and the way she finished in the
covered in blood.
in the crowd,
Amazing.
with everybody just screaming. I mean, she's the biggest thing in wrestling right now. She has to be. I just bought a shirt with her with a bloody face. I mean, it's coming.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be supporting spousal abuse by wearing it, but I mean, it's an awesome shirt.
But I mean, how often have we seen somebody rise in a 2-month period?
Well, that's my concern. Is I was debating my publisher PWI Stu Sachs on Thursday. The next issue that comes out is going to be our annual achievement awards, the year-end awards. So, match of the year, wrestler of the year, tag team of the year, and so on. As of right now, in the voting, Becky Lynch is running away with Woman of the Year.
Oh yeah.
So she's clearly in the lead. I mean, it's still early in the balloting. Anything can happen, but it looks like she's probably going to win that. So we're thinking about putting her on the cover. So it would be, the one issue, the Women's 100, Ronda Rousey. The next issue would be Becky Lynch on the cover. We've never done women on the cover of the magazine 2 consecutive issues. In fact, up until about 3 years ago, they didn't want to put a woman on the magazine because they didn't think it would sell. That was kind of the marketing department. I don't know, though, because we've never seen a woman pushed by WWE to have legs, for lack of a better term. Trish Stratus, when she was on top, was probably on top for about a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And then she retired early and everything else. And it kind of secured her legacy. Everybody thinks of Trish as one of the all-time greats. We never saw her kind of go downhill. Chyna was hot for a little while and then was injured and then came back and then left. They've never really gotten behind a woman for a long-term period of time. I don't know if WWE knows how to keep Becky Lynch hot. My question is, if we do just make the decision to put Becky on the cover and
Just
then
keep
she
punching
doesn't
her in
come
the
out for
face.
another 6 weeks, is she still going to be over? Is she still going to be hot 6 weeks from now?
Could this be a possible case of too much too soon?
I don't know. I mean, everyone talks about the Steve Austin comparison. Steve Austin had that much, but he was able to handle it. He had more to the character other than just the Austin 316. Right. He was just a good performer who could go in the ring and was good off the cuff and just had more in the tank. I think Becky does, but we don't know yet. So I don't know. It could be too much where she burns out real early.
Well,
or WWE doesn't know how to promote around it.
Well, it's going to be the problem, as we talk about all the time. We call them the Wombats over in the writing. They can screw her easily by just screwing up the storyline, screwing up her character, screwing up something, and it might not even be Becky. It might not even be Becky. It could be booking, as you say.
Yeah.
Because Russ hates everybody at WWE. Everybody, including Vince. He's in the corner.
Not that booking has ever screwed anything up before.
So bitter, man.
Not
because it's not
We're talking
indie.
about a positive
hold
point
on.
here.
It's
Russ is Max. We're not talking about indie.
Positivity, Russ.
It's
Believe.
Hold on.
Okay, well, now you're gonna ruin
DDP,
it.
you're doing Bo Dallas.
Yeah.
It's been 5 minutes. They haven't screwed anything up yet.
Oh, okay,
Max back.
Captain Indy, shut up.
Yeah.
But just bringing up some names that maybe future top 10. One name that comes up is Penelope Ford.
Yep.
I mean, her all-in performance. She was a valet that night, but some of the spots that she did and a couple of matches that I've seen of her, good Lord, she's got some kind of talent.
Yeah.
I think Russ is in love.
Maybe.
I see the sparkle.
Yeah, look at him. Twinkle in his eye. Look at him.
Hey, now.
The thing is,
I've never seen that smile from you, and I never want to see it again.
Yeah, seriously.
I think that a lot of it is you need to, if you're going to make it on the indies as a woman, you really kind of need to either make it in Ring of Honor, Shimmer, and Shine, or even Rise. Shimmer, I still think is kind of the gold standard for women's wrestling on the indies. It's changed a little bit over the years, but it's still, I mean, if you look at my column in the Women's 100, I think I said that about 60 of the women in the Women's 100 have all been through Shimmer, which is pretty ridiculous. All of the NXT Women's Champions, except for Kairi Sane and Charlotte, have been through Shimmer. It's really kind of the proving ground, and it's where the best of the best come together. So somebody like Penelope Ford, to really kind of make that next step without going straight to NXT, I think would have to put in some time with Shimmer and establish yourself a little bit more on the indie level.
Tessa Blanchard.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to talk last year, the heat. If Becky had heat with me this year, Tessa had it with me last year. So, but yeah, Tessa is having a great year with Impact. I was, again, at Shimmer last month. She did a 75-minute match, Ironman match against Mercedes Martinez.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Mercedes won that match, and it was amazing. It was a great match. I mean, you think that a 75-minute Ironman match, it's going to, all right, they're going to stall the first 40 minutes or so, and they didn't. They wrestled an amazing match, and I didn't think that Tessa, honestly, was good enough to go that far, even with Mercedes. But she proved me wrong. She looked great, and I think that she's going to have an even bigger 2019.
Sasha Banks.
All right. If we had heat with Becky this year and Tessa last year, the year before that, we had heat with Sasha Banks, who publicly kind of blocked PWI on Twitter. And
Come on.
Yeah, she was very. But hey, at the time I think she was a heel. Yeah, she was a heel at the time. Yep. And that's fine. Like that's what heels do. Is they
Best heel move is to block you on Twitter.
Totally.
Yeah, of course.
But she was saying how, and some of her fans were saying, she had some of the best matches of the year, and these matches with Charlotte. How come Charlotte made it and she didn't? At the end of the day, it's because she had this match of the year. I think it was Bayley that year, and she had the Charlotte matches, whatever. But she lost those matches. Like Bayley won, and Charlotte won. And yes, I know that it takes two to put on a great match. It takes everything else. But we do look at wins and losses when we put together these lists. And it kind of doesn't make sense to put the loser ranked above the winner in a ranking like this. So, yeah, but Sasha is a world beater, is a talent. Ronda Rousey said in the interview in the Women's 100 that if she had to pick one person she wants to work with, it would be Sasha. And I think that could be a match of the year right there if it ever happens.
Pretty much. And one that
Liv Morgan?
well, yeah, that's Sumie Sakai from Women of Honor. The fact that she's still champ for them, with all the choices that they had at the time that she became champion, they could have given it to Neil Dashwood, formerly Emma of WWE. That's why I thought that they were going to go to her because she's a name, but they give it to Sumie Sakai. And she's still champ.
Sumie is a really underrated competitor. She's good. She's been good. She was in the very first Women's 100 we did 10 years ago, and hasn't been in it since now. And it's not because she hasn't been wrestling. It's just that she hasn't been as prolific. She hasn't gotten the pushes because she doesn't really need them. She doesn't need a title. She goes out and she delivers, and she has a good match every time. Kudos to Ring of Honor for saying, we want a veteran to be the face of the division. We need somebody who can really kind of deliver in and outside of the ring. The fact that she speaks Japanese is helpful because they do have kind of a relationship with Stardom, and they can bring in people like Hana Kimura and others, and she can kind of be a mentor to them. But yeah, Sumie is a fantastic hand. I think the heir apparent to me would be Kelly Klein over there. Seems to be kind of the next one. Caitlin Diamond from Ontario just made her debut at the Ring of Honor show in Rochester in Toronto over the weekend. She's another one who I've seen her work Sumie in the past, and they have some fantastic matches. So there's a lot of good things that can happen in Women of Honor if they start promoting it a little bit more. It's still not a title that's defended on every show.
Well, but Women of Honor has really only been around, hands of quotations, around for maybe like the past year.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're just beginning.
But it was a year. I think the title tournament was in December or January
something like that.
Last year. But still, you think of who is Sumie defended the title against. You kind of have to go online to look because nothing jumps into your head. It's not presented prominently like the way it really should be.
And one that is really come to the forefront in Lucha Underground, Ivelisse.
Ivelisse, yeah, absolutely. Heck of a talent. Controversial figure, but she's really kind of gone out and done things on her own. As far as in-ring goes, I think she can just go with anybody. It's the outside the ring things, it's the booking, it's some other things that have kind of hampered her career a little bit, but she's a hell of a worker.
Yep. And one more name here, Toni Storm.
Yeah. Well, Toni Storm, winning the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's a great match.
Okay, that's
a great match.
And that was the thing that was tough is we were putting together the Women's 100, and it was before the finals of the Mae Young Classic.
Yep.
So it's like, well, the deadline, we got to get this out, and I kind of had two slots. Well, this would be the winner, this would be the loser, but I don't know who's going to win, who's going to lose. I ended up kind of slotting Io above Toni Storm, with the idea being that Io had done so much in Japan and Stardom, and she's considered to be the best in the world in Japan. Well, the best in Japan, I should say. Whereas Toni is not quite at that level in Europe, but close, definitely in the conversation. But yeah, Toni Storm is going to, both of them, I think, are going to have a terrific future.
I mean,
near future.
Yeah, right, exactly. And the fact that Tessa Blanchard and Toni Storm are like in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And they're coming to not top 10 right now, but they're 22, 23 years old is amazing.
The question, what I worry about with Tessa particularly, is one of her big finishing moves is she does kind of a code breaker off the top rope.
Yep.
So she stands up on the top rope, jumps up, grabs a person, takes that bump. That's a big bump to take as your finish every night, right? Especially when you're a woman who weighs 120 pounds maybe. If you're a guy, you've got extra meat. Right, you can absorb that bump.
Stop being catty.
Well, it's a real thing. Like, that's a big bump to take for somebody who's got such a small frame and so little kind of musculature, padding, body fat, whatever you want to say. And it worries me. The same thing I remember seeing, well, at the time Athena, now Ember Moon, right? She was getting up in the morning at the hotel, and she was walking, and we were talking about Game of Thrones, whatever, and she was just like in pain. Her back was screwed up, her hip, everything. She's carrying her bags, and she's like, doing the eclipse every night. It takes its toll. Like it hurts, because you're landing on your ass, right? You're on your tailbone. You're taking that bump night after night, and she's been able to kind of make it last, but and compete at a high level. I worry about somebody as young as Tessa taking that kind of bump, and what kind of condition is she going to be in 2 or 3 years from now? When WWE does come around and say, hey, we got a spot for you, can she still perform at that level or not? I mean, there's been a lot of women. Portia Perez comes to mind, Daphne, a couple others that never really got high in the business, but injuries forced them to retire very early. With Portia, it was spinal injuries. And she was never a huge bump taker or anything else, but the reality is a smaller body frame taking these big bumps night after night will eventually have an effect.
And I think that, is it the fact that they're young and they think that they're indestructible in some ways?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we all thought we were young and indestructible at some point in our lives, yeah.
Yeah.
I still think I'm somewhat indestructible.
Well,
I'm very destructible. I can be destructed fairly easily.
Yeah, pretty much.
You both.
Yeah, I'm like a Death Star. All we need is a farm kid with a laser cannon. I'll blow me right up. That sounds weird.
But I kind of want to try it.
Russ is the farm kid. It's weird.
And I'm the big womp rat.
But a couple of other names. Ember
Great
Moon.
Star Wars reference, by the way.
Let's bring Ember Moon into the conversation. Multiple show. I think she was multiple-time champion in NXT at least once.
One time.
At least once. And Bayley. A couple names here. What happened to Bayley?
Bayley is.
Hugs are not rateable.
What hugs are not rateable? That's true. Yeah, you can't rate a hug.
Sorry, well, I know it's your hug.
Bayley's character was, she was like a girl who was just happy to be in WWE and happy to live her childhood dream, and that's got a shelf life. Like, okay, it's like you want to root for that girl because she's living her dream. Well, now she's been on the roster 2 or 3 years. It's like, okay, well, you can't be the little girl with
achieved
stars
your dream
around.
now.
Yeah.
Everybody's been waiting for that snap, like when she was fighting Alexa, and with the kendo sticks, and she was supposed to snap, and she still stayed Bayley. She
worst
never
stuff I've ever
really
seen.
made that next jump.
It
was terrible.
It was. Yeah. She's very good in that role. She was very well cast in that role. I don't know if she's got much beyond it.
Right.
It's not everybody has that kind of other level that like Becky Lynch is showing right now, where the character kind of went one way and she's taking it even further. Going after magazines and things like that. Doing that kind of stuff.
Which kind of sucks because Bayley is fun to watch. I think she has a good moveset, and I think she does a lot of good things in the ring. I think she's,
You just like the elbow off the top rope.
Oh, well, there's the elbow. I mean, I'm just saying. You watch some of this stuff. You watch some of this stuff, and some of the girls. I'm not gonna say they're stiff or whatever, but they don't connect. The moves don't move. There's no fluidity to it. I guess fluidity is probably the best way to put it. There's nothing in the match, and she's good. I think she does a really nice job. That's why I'm always a proponent of her. You guys always bust my chops about it, but that's
I mean, she's no Brie Bella, but.
Oh Lord!
But again, but
I meant that in a better way for Bayley.
Are you taking a shot at her because she kicked your girl in the head?
Yeah.
Because
fuck that.
But there are a couple names right there. The Bellas.
Talk about stiff. Sorry.
I never really considered the Bellas to be tremendous in the ring.
No.
Or anything like that. They're there because they're pretty.
It's name, power, and who they're attached to.
Right. Nikki got pretty good.
Yes.
I mean,
thanks to John.
Yeah. I mean, she
got
was
trained by him.
That's what I'm saying. Thanks to John.
Yeah. She was
gets
number one in our female 50, I think, 2 years ago. But I mean, she held that title for the entire year.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the top star in the biggest company in the world, you're number one. It makes sense. But she was okay. Brie was. I mean, you think of her recent botches, and it kind of colors your perception. But she was real good at one point. I mean, no one's ever going to confuse them with like a a Lou Thez or a Harley Race or something like that. But you know, they could put on a good 6-minute match and nobody would get hurt, and that's all that you can really kind of ask for.
You know
that's what they're being asked to do.
Yeah, pretty
Except
much.
they're hurting everybody.
Yeah, now. Yeah.
Well, Brie Bella would kill herself, I think, before she killed anybody else. It seems like, unless you're Liv Morgan.
So rude.
The suicide dive that she almost died from.
Yeah.
No.
But you know how many guys attempt those sometimes and miss?
I know.
You know. So we bang
Here's
on
my
her.
rule. My rule is, has anyone ever seen, and I've been watching wrestling for way too long, I've seen way too many matches, right? Has anyone ever seen a match end with a suicide dive?
No.
So why do guys do it? Why does anyone do it?
Exactly.
No one has ever been pinned off of a suicide dive.
It's a true story.
So if the idea is to win a match, and suicide dive has a 0% success rate. Like, I've seen guys get pinned off a side headlock. I've seen guys submit to an abdominal stretch. I've seen guys get pinned off of a clothesline. Those, it's rare, but I've seen it. No one's ever been pinned off of a suicide dive.
Watch Raw on Monday.
Just stop it. Stop suicide diving.
It's going to happen on Monday because, you know, Vince watches us.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
So we're going to get credit for this.
All right. Well, Vince, let's see a suicide dive. Let's see the match end on a suicide dive this week.
Grappler X said so.
Grappler X. Oh, come on, he's got a secret identity.
I know, he just gave it away.
Yeah, way to go, Joey. But
We can cut that out. We edit that.
well, you know what? He banned the pile driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could go ahead and ban the suicide dive before
Didn't
somebody
he
really hurts himself.
ban the curb stomp for a little while there, too?
Yeah, he brought that back.
He banned most of Seth Rollins' finishers.
Yeah, that buckle bomb that's a terrible move. He's going to kill somebody with that move.
Well, the buckle
bomb? Yeah.
Well, that officially ended Sting's
Well,
career.
yeah.
Yep.
But, like, that's a horrible move.
Wasn't that what did Finn Balor in too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh Lord.